Hey y'all, it's because Mama said so, and I am here this week with 3 delicious dinners. As always, the recipes will be down in the description. We're going to start with pizza chicken spaghetti squash. I don't know if you've ever used spaghetti squash as a substitute for pasta, but I absolutely love it, and it is so delicious, and it is one of the easiest things to prepare. We're going to take our spaghetti squash and cut it in half long ways. I've got the oven set to about 450 degrees, and we're going to let that sit in the oven face down on that baking sheet for about an hour. And then it is so tender, and the inside of the squash can be kind of taken a fork and raked through it, and it rakes out into strings that resemble spaghetti. Again, I'll have this recipe down in the bottom if for some reason I forget to do something. Oh, I said bake at 375, not 425. See, this is why recipes are important, because Mama doesn't always remember right off the top of her head. So this is going to go in the oven. While this is in the oven, we're going to prepare our chicken. I have got a large can of tomato sauce and a small can of diced tomatoes. I'm going to be adding some garlic, some onion powder, some pepper, salt, and as always, scale salt for your family's preference, Italian seasoning, and basil. I love this because this makes an absolutely delicious homemade style spaghetti sauce if you don't happen to have any on hand. Plus, you also get to play with the flavors the way that you want them, and not how the company who made the pasta sauce wanted them. You get to kind of customize that, and that sounds super fun to me. We're going to take 2 chicken breasts. Actually, I think today I've got 3. And we're going to cut them in half long-wise, so that way it kind of makes the chicken go a little bit further. Plus, they'll cook a little bit faster because they're thinner. We'll take that chicken and set it aside. I'll grab a 9x13 baking dish and pour our homemade sauce in the bottom. And then I will snuggle those chicken breasts in that sauce, and we'll top it off with a little bit more seasoning, salt, pepper, and parsley, and then top it with shredded mozzarella cheese and pepperoni. Now, I have done sliced mozzarella, the kind that comes in the ball, and it is absolutely divine. But on this cooking day, I did not have that, so I just went ahead and did shredded mozzarella. Our spaghetti squash is done and out of the oven, and as you can see, I just rake a fork through the flesh of the spaghetti squash, and it starts to come off in strands, in spaghetti strands, which is how this particular squash got its name. It is a wonderful substitute for spaghetti or pasta in any dish. It's great for spaghetti squash Alfredo. I have made this a dozen different ways, and I absolutely love it. Now, full transparency, I do make regular noodles to go with this particular dish because my husband is not necessarily a big fan of spaghetti squash, but I do like to sometimes keep it on the lower carb side, and honestly, I just like the flavor. So you can, for those members that are a little bit pickier, you can do regular pasta with them on the side if you choose to, or you could omit the spaghetti squash altogether and just do spaghetti if that's what your family prefers. Here's my plate as it's done. I've got that spaghetti on top of a big mountain of spaghetti squash. Absolutely delicious. This is a family favorite for sure. Next, we're going to work on a vegetable beef soup. I love the winter because I love going into soup mode, and this is something that comes together in about half an hour. I literally got off work, came home, and within 30 minutes I had this soup ready to go. I took about 8 cups of water and 3 tablespoons of beef bouillon base and added it to a pot. I already had some ground beef in my freezer that was about 1.5 pounds that I softly thawed a little bit before I put it in the pot, but I'm going to go ahead and get this cooked down and broken up. This is going to add so much amazing flavor to our soups. Then to the side over here, I have some canned vegetables. I like this because this is a pantry meal that you can use and is very frugal. I'm going to add 2 cans of white beans. I use white northern beans. Cannellini beans would be fine, and even kidney beans would work. I have a can of corn that I'm adding, and I'm leaving all of the juices in. You can choose to drain if you would like. I've got the carrots, sliced carrots, that I'm adding to the pot. Green beans. Oh, that was the corn. The green beans are next. Sometimes when you go back and you edit your videos, you can't remember what order you did things in. And then I'm going to add 2 cans of diced tomatoes. Our seasonings are going to be onion powder, salt, and pepper. It doesn't get much simpler than that. Again, I'll have the recipe in the description below for you to be able to see exact measurements of what I used. Once all of this yumminess comes to a light simmer, I'm going to add a tiny pasta. Now this is ditalini pasta. You can use mini tubatini. There's even a little balled up pasta called arancini di pepe. Really hoping I'm not butchering that. If you're Italian, please forgive me. But I'm going to add the whole box to this pasta, and I'm going to let it cook for, according to the package directions, about 10 more minutes, and it'll soak up some of that extra broth, some of those veggie juices, and it is so delicious. Like I said, this comes together in right at about 30 minutes, and I serve this with crackers. My family really, really does love this. I also serve this with a little sprinkling of mozzarella cheese over the top. It just adds a little bit of richness to all the heartiness of the vegetables and the beef. Here is my bowl. You can see that little tube pasta in there. It is so good. It's just a wonderful meal to have on a very cold day when you're transferring yourself into soup mode. And next we're going to do chicken and cream sauce with a rice with quinoa in it. I absolutely love the way that quinoa adds texture to rice, and it is so expensive to buy the little pre-made packages of it, and it's so easy to do in the Instant Pot that I choose to do it that way. Here you can see I have got 3 large chicken breasts, and I am cutting them in half and then cutting them into strips in order to get them ready for this dish. I like to cut down chicken this way because I find that it cooks up more tender and it also cooks faster. And that's great for a busy mom on a day when you're trying to just get a good, nice, healthy, hearty dinner on the table and you don't want to spend too long trying to get super thick chicken breasts to cook. I've got the oven preheating at 400 degrees. I'm going to spray this 9x13 baking dish with some nonstick spray, and I'm just going to lay out my chicken. Now, I will say this, do not be afraid that I am not seasoning this chicken, because there is so much seasoning that goes into the sauce that we're going to pour over it. It's going to be absolutely delicious. Trust the process. In a medium-sized bowl, I'm going to add half a cup of sour cream, and then I'm going to add a can of cream of chicken soup. Then you'll see I had a viewer suggest to me that I make sure to use either milk or water to rinse out the inside of my cans to make sure that I'm getting every last bit of good stuff out. So you'll see here I am taking milk and I am shaking it into my can in order to get all of that cream of chicken soup into the bowl. Then I'm going to add 1.5 teaspoons each of salt, pepper, and Tony seasoning. Now remember to scale this for your family's preferences. You may not want it quite so salty, and you also may not want as much spice from the Tony seasoning. I'm going to add about 1/2 cup of shredded cheddar and give this a really good stir. This is the base of not only our cream sauce, but it also goes on top of our chicken to give it wonderful flavor. Here I'm going to pour this cream sauce on top of my chicken, and I'm going to spread it out nice and evenly, and then I'll take another 1.5 cups of shredded cheddar cheese over the top. For some reason the video did not come through, but you're also going to take 2 tablespoons of melted butter and mix it with 1 cup of panko breadcrumbs and sprinkle that over the top as well. Then you'll cover it with foil and bake it for about 30 minutes, and then now we'll start on our Instant Pot quinoa and rice. I've got my Instant Pot set up and I've added 2 cups of white rice and then 6 tablespoons of a tricolor quinoa blend. I like the tricolor quinoa blend because it just looks a lot prettier, and you eat with your eyes first, right? And so I add that. Then you're going to add about 1 tablespoon of salt and 1 tablespoon of butter before you add 4 cups of water. When you add your lid, you're then going to push the rice button on your Instant Pot. It literally cannot be any easier. Once your Instant Pot goes off, let it sit and do a natural release for at least 10 minutes before you open it up. Once that little pin is dropped, you're ready to go and ready to eat. Here is my plate of chicken and cream sauce with quinoa and rice. So good. Thank you so much for watching. I would love for you to like, share, and subscribe. I'd love to chat in the comments. Take care of yourself, your precious cargo, and why? Because Mama said so.